Hey there, you are doing the work, the posts go out, the emails get sent. Maybe you have got someone helping you now, a virtual assistant, a freelancer, a part-time hire. The machine is moving quickly, but something feels off. Nothing quite connects, right? A post lands 1 week and next 3 get nothing. Your website says something slightly different to your LinkedIn, which says something slightly different to your clients describe what you do in ways that surprise you, sometimes in good ways, often in confusing. You are being told this is an execution problem. Post more consistently, show up every day, improve your graphics, upgrade your tools. But trust me, it's not an execution problem. It's a messaging problem. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to tell the difference and what to do about it. So before we begin, subscribe if you're running a business that's past the scrappy early stage and you're trying to build marketing that actually scales. That's who this is for. So let me describe inconsistent marketing, not the surface symptoms, but what it actually feels like from the inside. You post something and it performs well. You try to repeat it and it falls flat. You can't figure out why because you don't have a clear enough sense of what worked in the first place. You brief a freelancer or a new hire and they come back with work that's fine, technically competent, but it doesn't quite sound like you. You ask for revisions, but you struggle to explain what you actually want. The feedback loop becomes frustrating for both of you. Your sales conversations go well, you're articulate, you get it, you can explain the value clearly in person, but your website doesn't do that job. Sounds familiar? New visitors land and they don't quite get it from the page alone. Different people who have worked with you describe what you do in completely different ways. One says you're a strategy consultancy, another says you're an implementation partner, another says you just make everything clearer. They're all right, but they are each emphasizing something different because you haven't given them a single clear frame. All of that is a messaging problem. Every single symptom I just described. Here's why messaging gets missed and execution gets blamed. Execution problems are visible. You can see that you didn't post this week. You can see that design looks inconsistent. You can see that the email open rate is low. These things have numbers attached to them. They feel fixable. Messaging problems are invisible until you know what to look for. You can't see fuzziness on a dashboard. There's no metric called unclear positioning. So when results are disappointing, founders look at what they can measure. And what they can measure is execution. So they hire someone to post more, they invest in better graphics, they switch platforms, they try a new tool, and none of it works because the problem wasn't the output. It was what the output was saying. I have watched businesses double their content output and get half the results because they doubled down on volume before fixing what the content was actually about. More of the wrong message is not a growth strategy. So let's get specific about what a messaging problem looks like because it's not just about words. A messaging problem is when you haven't clearly answered 3 questions. Who is this for? What does it do for them? Why should they choose you over everything else they could do instead? These 3 questions sound simple. They're not simple to answer well. Most businesses have partial answers, good enough to get early customers who found you through referral or luck, not good enough to attract strangers who are comparing you to alternatives. And here is the important thing about partial answers. They create inconsistency automatically. Because when the message isn't fully formed, every person who touches your marketing, every freelancer, every hire, every tool you use fills in the gap differently. Your LinkedIn person fills them in one way, your website copy fills them in another, your pitch deck fills them in a third. Nothing connects because there is no single clear source of truth underneath it all. Inconsistent marketing is a symptom. Unclear messaging is the disease. And the reason this matters so much at the stage you are at when you are ready to scale is that inconsistency compounds. When you are small and scrappy, inconsistency is invisible basically. When you start putting budget and people behind your marketing, inconsistency gets amplified. You don't want that. Every new hire who doesn't have a clear brief makes the problem louder. Every ad that doesn't have a clear message wastes more money. So Here's a quick test you can do right now, or at least after this video, right? Go to your website homepage, read the first 3 sentences, then ask, does a complete stranger who knows nothing about me understand exactly who this is for and what problem it solves? Right? Then go to your most recent LinkedIn post, ask the same question. Then look at your last sales proposal or pitch deck, ask again. If the answer is different each time, or if it's unclear any of the times, you have a messaging problem. Here's the second test. Ask 3 people who have worked with you or bought from you to describe what you do in 1 sentence. Don't guide them, just listen. If all 3 say roughly the same thing, your messaging is working. If you get 3 different answers, or if any of the answers surprise you, your message isn't landing the way you think it is. Most founders who do this test are surprised, not because the feedback is negative, often it's quite positive, but because of how different the answers are, right? They assume their message was clear because they have understood it, but they hadn't checked whether anyone else did. So if you have done that test and you suspect you have a messaging problem, where do you start? Not with your content calendar, not with your brand guidelines, not with your social media strategy. You start with 1 sentence, the sentence that answers all 3 questions at once. Who is it for, what it does for them, and why you specifically. Something like, I help specific type of ICP or person achieve specific outcome without the thing they are afraid of or tired of. That's a framework, not a formula. Your version should sound like you, not a template. But the discipline of getting to 1 clear sentence forces you to make choices. And making choices is exactly what fuzzy messaging avoids. Once you have that sentence, one that you have tested with real customers and that you respond to, everything else becomes clear. Your content has a through line, the briefs to freelancers have a foundation, your homepage has a job to do, your ads have something real to say. That's not a small thing. That's the entire foundation of scale-up marketing. Right? I want to be honest with you about one thing. Getting to that sentence is harder than it sounds. Not because the concept is complicated, it isn't. Because it requires you to make choices about who you are not for. And most founders resist that. They want to keep the door open, they don't want to narrow. But clarity is not narrowing. Clarity is choosing to speak to the right person loudly enough that they actually hear, instead of speaking to everyone quietly enough that nobody does. The businesses I have seen scale their marketing most effectively are almost always the one with the clearest, most specific message, not the broadest, the clearest. If any of this sounds familiar, if you're doing the work and not seeing the result and you suspect the message is the problem, the next step is getting someone to take a look at it properly. I run a deep teardown, a structured review of your messaging, your positioning, and your marketing foundation. I look at what you are saying, who you are saying it to, whether it's landing and what needs to change. It's $3.99 and takes about a week. Most people who go through it say the clarity alone is worth it because they have changed a single thing. The link is in the description. Leave a comment if any of this rang true, especially if you have tried fixing the execution and it still didn't work. I want to hear your version of this. Next video, I'm talking about how to build a marketing system that keeps running when you step away from it. Because fixing your message is step 1 and building a system around it is step 2. Subscribe so you're there for it. See you then.